We often think about culture as something that is inherited from the past or from the context. But really, culture is created by what we do. And that's why education and culture are really like two sides of the same coin. So as ministers of education, if you think about the future of the planet, the future of humanity, you need to take that cultural perspective in mind. If you're a minister of culture, and you do not think, how young people learn about culture, how they experience culture, you're not going to change and create that kind of culture. So I do believe, and some countries have taken that to heart, ministries of education and culture are integrated, are combined. Where that is not the case, it's very important to establish a very strong collaborative framework. And not just in terms of policy, it's also really important to make that happen at the level of practice in the institutions. That students do not perceive that, the education and the culture are two separate things. One is curricular and the other is extracurricular, but that the curriculum becomes really integrated. If you look to countries like Italy, Austria, culture has a very strong place in education. These countries are very aware that their identity really is created through their culture, and they are very keen on making sure that education is also shaping the culture in which we live. You can see that in the space, in the school curriculum, that culture has music, the arts. They're not just additions for wealthy children, but every child learns to play an instrument. Every child participates in cultural activities. So you can see that really well embedded. You can see also that at the level of government, culture and education play hand in hand, which is really, really important to make that happen. You look at some of the Nordic countries in Europe, if you go to Estonia, Finland, they're doing really well academically, but they also place a very strong emphasis on human capabilities. I'd like to look at culture really as the human dimension in education. Can you learn to live with yourself? Can you learn to live with people who are different from you? Can you learn to live with, different cultures, different contexts? Are you ready for a pluralistic world? Can you live with the planet? Now, those aspects really come from that. It's very easy to educate children for our past. It's very difficult to educate them for their future. And we just need to recognize that the kind of things that are easy to teach, easy to test, have become easy to digitize, to automate. We need to take a less instrumental view on education. It's not just about, educating for the jobs that we need to have today, but it's about educating for jobs that we have not yet been created, to educate to use technologies that have not been invented, to learn to solve social problems that we cannot yet imagine. And that takes a lot of courage. And quite frankly, it's not just governments. Sometimes we as parents need to make that shift. We get very anxious when our children learn things that we no longer understand, or where they do no longer learn things that were important for us. Teachers are often more likely to teach how they were taught than how they were taught to teach, to educate. So I think this is a paradigm shift that we all need to make, not just in government. But certainly what governments can do is create more space in the curriculum to make learning less a consumptive, a passive experience, and more an active experience where students do something. This is where culture and the arts really come in. They help you to understand yourself. They build that awareness, that build that confidence, that resilience. Those social emotional skills that are really not soft skills. They are the hard skills in the 21st century. And that's really, I think, where culture and education can play together, and where governments can create the space in the curriculum. But ultimately, culture is changed and created in what happens in the classroom. So it's not just a task for governments to create new legislation. It's really about changing practices, changing our expectations as parents. Are we ready to have our children actually learn for a world that we do not know yet? Clearly, as a finance minister, you have to make difficult choices. So you can spend your money only once, but the main role of finance ministers is to invest in the future. And our schools today will be our economy and also our society tomorrow. And to lay the foundations for a creative economy, which is the future economy, to lay the foundations for a digital future. It all starts in classrooms, and we should take a less instrumental perspective and view on education and think more about how do we educate people for jobs that we cannot yet imagine, how we allocate resources, scarce financial resources, to the most productive users of people.